yeah, it was honestly just God and scripture and just really knowing that if I could just make it through that, that he would deliver me, you know. And it's such, to me, it's such an amazing thing that even in your mess, even when you're struggling in that storm, you know, if you can do the prayers and do the calling out and, you know, go over the meditations, even if the only thing you can say is Jesus, you know, he will help you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Carpe Diem Living, the podcast. I am your host, Shane Gitmed, and yes, we're in different scenery today. I decided to take it outdoors versus just inside because the weather's so beautiful. And today we have a very special guest coming all the way from the East Coast. We have Miss Amber. So Amber, tell us about you and, a little bit about your background.
Hi, Shane. Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate that. I'm super excited to be here with you all. So I am 35. I'm a mom of 6. I have a wonderful husband who I've been with for 10 years now. And I also run an in-home daycare. And I'm very active in my church. I'm an MIT, which is a minister in training. And I also head up our intercessory prayer team. And I published a book this year called Progress Deliverance, Learning How to Pray Your Way Through Postpartum Disorders to Gain Ultimate Victory. And I've been working on spreading that message and just sharing with people, you know, God and the healing and my personal journey of what I went through and what led me to write the book. And so just chasing kids and my kids and other people's kids, and you know, go to church and praise the Lord, and keeps you all very busy.
Yeah, you're the ultimate mama bear then, if you're constantly working with kids. And I give you a lot of props for that because I have one toddler and man, I don't know how you do it. How old are your kids? So you have 6. Yeah, what are the ages? Age range?
So they are 21, 13, 12, 12, 7, and 8. And so the 21-year-old is on his own. So the rest are still at home, and I'm hanging in there, lots of prayers and tears, usually at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, they're beautiful though. I'm truly blessed. I can't imagine life without them.
Yes. So you have twins then, the 12 and 12.
No, so that's so funny. My husband and I, we both had two other people when we got married.
Oh, okay.
And so my youngest and his youngest from our previous relationships are just very close in age. So for a little while, they're the same age. He turns a year older than her in July, and then she'll catch up to him in January. So yeah, it was just how it worked out. Yeah. It's pretty funny actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
Even and they better. Look a lot alike too. Like,
really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah, people used to think they were twins all the time when they were younger. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, that's so nice. Having a blended family, that's even another thing. I grew up with not a blended family per se, but I did have a stepdad, and I ended up having a half sister through him. So it's really awesome when you have an extended family like that. Yeah. So you're a certified life coach. So what was your journey with becoming certified, and what inspired you to pursue that?
Oh yes, I totally forgot to mention that part. I'm still forget to put it out there, but yes, I am a certified life coach by way of Light University, and I am super excited about that. And that happened because I wanted to get into a field where I could help women struggling with postpartum, and also with children. I specialize with mentally ill children with like ADHD, ODD, things of that nature. And so I wanted to do something where I could, work with them and just help change and raise awareness for the disorders, and And especially within the church, a lot of times, there's a lot of stigmatization, and, they don't get the help that they need. So I'm also in the process of being a certified mental health coach. And so I will specialize in working with the church to address about mental disorders. And so, yeah, and then also for my organization, Progress Deliverance.org, and it's an organization that brings together therapy, medicine, and God to get the holistic approach to healing, because, so often that is left out. And so, yeah, that's how that happened.
Wow. Yeah, totally. I mean, I've always seen it with different holistic experts. They're always on their own journey first, and then they bring it along. So you bring up a very important topic, which is postpartum depression. And a lot of moms, whether they realize it or not, we experience we go through a lot of different hormonal changes. And even for me, I believe I had postpartum anxiety, just because I already had anxiety prior. And then after I had my son, it was just like even more, like it was probably times 10. And that was really hard. So yeah, what was your experience with postpartum depression, and how did you apply holistic healing to work through that?
So that was a rather interesting experience. I can say that now, like, going through it was not interesting. It was terrifying and scary, and I spent a lot of time feeling down and, depressed, and wanting to be better but not knowing how to get better, and, all those different emotions, wondering why I couldn't love my kids the way I'd seen other moms loved, and I couldn't be there for them the way that I was taught to be there for kids, and so it was a very, very interesting journey. And for me, scriptures, prayer was really what I clung to in that time, because I had a lot of I had the postpartum depression, but I also had the postpartum OCD, where you have very intrusive thoughts. I call them crazy thoughts. The technical word is intrusive. Where you just think things about your child that that you shouldn't be thinking, about harming them, things of that nature. And so I prayed. I remember praying constantly and reading scripture. I also talked to my mom. She was a very big help, and she would remind me, to pray and to read my scripture. I had tried medication. I had tried Prozac, Zoloft. They just didn't work for me. Not against them, they just didn't work for me. And therapy wasn't something I really knew about at the time. I wasn't raised in a family that really believed in that. We were very private. Your business is your business. And it was it was honestly just God and scripture, and just really knowing that if I could just make it through that he would deliver me, and it's such an amazing thing that even in your mess, even when you're struggling in that storm, if you can do the prayers and do the calling out, and go over the meditations, even if the only thing you can say is Jesus, he will help you. So it's not final. It's not a final sentence. It's not where your life has to end.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's very powerful, because I know, especially when you're in the moment of, there's a lot of tantrums and a lot of crying, and there's so much, and then you have multiple kids, and you're just trying to manage and find some sanity. Man, that's when the prayers really come out, especially for me. I'm like, God, help me. Like, what, or it's, oh my gosh. And then especially, I'm so, having that big of a family, thank goodness you have a partner, because I know there's other moms out there. Like, I'm a single mom, and I can't imagine, having multiple kids and being a single parent. Like, wow, shout out to all the other moms juggling even more.
Absolutely. And when I first got diagnosed, when my first child I had before I met my husband, so I had a 1 and 2 year old, or 8-month-old and 1-year-old. They're 13 months apart. And so, so I did experience some of the single motherhood and the depression. And like you said, shout out, because to go through that. And that's a lot of times part of the factors of the depression, is the fact that a person does, is by themselves and does feel alone, doesn't have that spouse to lean on.
Right.
And so yeah, God bless them.
Wow. Yes. How long were you a single mother for before you met your husband?
I met my husband when they were 3 and 2, three
Wow.
and two. And so it doesn't seem like that long, but actually, going through it, because I was depressed and I wasn't sure what was happening. I didn't know what to do. And I ended up losing our apartment because I just couldn't hold a job. Mentally, I wasn't there. So we
Yeah.
ended up getting evicted and we ended up going to a shelter and
Oh.
staying there. And then finally I moved back with my mother and her husband at the time. And,
Mhm.
I knew something had to change. I wasn't sure what, but I just knew, so we moved back with her, and then I started going back to church, and I actually met my husband in church.
Oh,
So,
I've always
yeah.
wanted that.
Yeah, it was
Especially,
pretty cool.
yeah, because I have a friend who there's, I mean, I know you've heard of it, Christian Mingle and like all those different like
Yeah,
websites.
yeah.
We always had this joke because we were both single moms at the same time, and we're just like, what if we just like did that just to see? Because we purposely wanted to be intentional with the next
Mhm.
person we were with was someone that had to be Christian, had the same morals, values. Because personally, for me, what I've seen is like when you are with someone that has the same foundation as you with those types of beliefs, the likelihood
Mhm.
of you guys succeeding with your future plans as a whole family, the chances are a lot higher. um
Yeah.
so I was just so we always had that joke. So that, I mean, that's amazing. Congratulations for meeting your husband at church. Like, you didn't have to go far at all, you're already
Yep, yep. He was right there waiting.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Um, but wow. So with postpartum depression, so did you try any other natural remedies? So the medications didn't work, which I've heard that too from other moms where they'll take different things and they're just like, I either they feel nothing or
Mhm.
it's hard to tell. I feel like I can't put my finger on it, but I've just heard of so many different experiences and you just never really know. Did you try any other modalities since the medications weren't working other than, going to church and everything else?
Honestly, no. That was for me, that was it. Like the medicine wasn't working, and I knew that, prayer was gonna, God was gonna. Um, I do remember when I had my first son, and I'm actually working on this now. I want to put it into play. One of the women that I worked with, she brought a basket, a care package for me,
Wow.
and and it was for me. You know how a lot of times when you have a baby, it's everything is for the baby.
Yes.
This was actually for me, and it had a loofah, some body spray, some slippers, just stuff
Oh,
to pamper yourself. And I actually, God brought that to my remembrance the other day because I was thinking of how I want to start blessing women, within my organization. And he showed me that. He reminded me of that. And I said, yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start putting together those baskets just so that the mom doesn't feel so neglected, because people all
yes.
ooh and all over the baby, which is good.
Of
Babies are a
course.
blessing, but the moms need to feel like they are, or that they're still there. They're still important too.
Right,
And
right.
so, but yeah, besides that, I honestly, it was God and scripture for me.
Ugh.
And I remember one time I was listening to the news, and I think it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and there was a woman on there, and she was describing what I was going through.
Uh-huh.
And I remember thinking, all right, Lord, like I know that's you're talking to me. And she had
Yes.
talked about how she had been healed, and how she was in recovery and surviving and thriving now. And so I just took that as my sign that I was going to be okay at some point.
Wow. See, and that's exactly what I mean is when more and more people hear other people's stories and they're like, "Oh, I can relate with that," or "Oh, yes, I've been there." More people will want to do, what follow someone as an example. And so that's amazing
Mhm.
that for you, you heard that and you're like, that's God letting me know that this is, what my next steps are and that it's going to be fine. And I'm that type too. Like I'm always looking out for signs, just because, you never, especially with God, of course, you're never alone. So yeah, so I think that's what's nice is like when you're looking for signs, I mean, I know the law of attraction comes part of it too. Like if you're thinking of a yellow car, you will see a yellow car, and there's a whole nother thing to that. But I know, especially with like faith, I know this has happened to you when you go to service, not now because of COVID, but there's online service now. But when you go to church and you're going through something, you're dealing with something, and then the message that the pastor is talking about just happens to be exactly what you needed to hear.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Confirmation. Like, you do see me, Lord. Like, you're not just up there, looking at everybody else but me. Like, you do know I'm here going through this right now.
Right. And I love that because I'm like, okay, that's all the reassurance I needed. And even for me, like, I think another thing I did to be active within the ministry to help me through what I was going through with single motherhood was I became one of the Sunday school teachers with a certain age group. So my kids were second to fourth grade or something like that, second to fifth. It's been a while because of COVID. I'm telling you, it just put a whole cloud in our area. But yeah, so it was really nice to just because for me, I know the future generation, it's just, I love knowing that I'm involved with that and knowing that I can help, be a great example for them. So that was one thing I really appreciated too, is even with everything that's ever happened in my life, regardless, I don't stray away from my faith. If anything, I go even stronger because I'm now more than ever, I need to seek him and, read his word. And do you have any favorite apps with Bible verses? I like the Bible app, and there's another one. It's called First 5.
Okay, the First 5. I don't use that one, but I know of that one. That's Lisa Turker's, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've heard really good things about that. I like the U version, of course,
Oh, yes.
And also Bible Hub was one that my pastor had recommended to me to start studying the scriptures more.
Mm-hmm.
I really like devotionals,
yes,
the First 5, and then Proverbs 31 has a devotional, that you can read every day and get emailed to you. So I really enjoy those as well. But the Bible app, I think it's amazing. I really love it.
Yeah. There's even one that I purchased a while back, which I still need to dive in. I think it's called just Bible or something like that. And it's where it's the whole Bible and they kind of have a dissected version of it. So it's for someone that's new, you can get a deeper understanding by reading it and when it's worded differently. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really helpful. Yeah, because I don't know if you've ever read the whole Bible. I have not. So I'm I want to learn. There's some people that will I've read the whole thing. And I'm like, really? I guess so. I'm not going to say you're not telling the truth, but.
If you did you remember it? That's a big book.
Right. I'm just thinking okay, but yeah, the way it's broken down in this section, I got to find the link for it. But yeah, it really does help you really, get why each book was created and what it, just diving into it. So I need to find that. But yeah, so that's really helpful. So let's talk about,
awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about your book. So Prayers, Progress, and Deliverance, right?
Yep. It's right here. So that is that.
Nice,
Prayers,
nice.
Progress, Deliverance, learning how to pray your way through postpartum disorders and gain ultimate victory.
Oh, that's amazing. And that book just released this year?
Yep, just this past February. I actually was giving my testimony at we have a women's event every year in March called Sisters Helping Sisters Win here locally down near Pittsburgh. And my first lady, my pastor's wife, for those listeners who don't know what the first lady is, the pastor's wife, she asked me to give my testimony, and God had told me a year before that when I gave the testimony, the book would be written. And so what she didn't know was that I had just signed a contract to publish the day before she asked me.
Oh.
And so, so that was really awesome. I was like, oh, good, I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
And so So yeah, I wrote it in about 2 months, and it was published. It took about 3 months to get the publishing done, and but I had been thinking about it for years before that, because at this point my oldest biological child has just turned 13, so it's been 13 years since my first pregnancy, so my first experience with postpartum.
Mhm.
And so I had a lot of time to think and process, and so when I did finally sit down, it didn't take much. The Holy Spirit just kind of wrote and just used me to do it. And I really love it because it's like a journal and a workbook.
Right.
There's a question section, there's a 2-week prayer section, there's a resource section, and then there's what I call a concerned citizen section, where you can look over questions, like, so for the husband or the family, maybe the mom notices something different about her daughter, or anyone close to them, what I went through, and the facts that led to my own diagnosis. And so yeah, that's my baby. I'm so proud of it, and it's just really amazing to see what God is doing with it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that, because I know so many other women will be so inspired by it. And it's hard because I feel like mental health amongst moms, people don't talk about it enough. And it's only as of recently where we're really like saying, hey, look at us. We need you to hear us. And so, because I even remember my own experience, I remember just like you told, like how you mentioned earlier, everyone's giving all the baby attention, which is, that's, of course, that's perfect, but the moms feel neglected. And from my own personal experience, yes, I felt neglected. And it was really hard because you're just kind of like, I feel like everything that I'm doing, I don't feel seen. Like, and it's really hard to feel that way. And I never wanted to feel that way. Um, and I know, I understand, like, there's a lot of things that were going on in our family at that time, but it still didn't change the fact that, like, I don't have 8 arms, like I can't juggle everything at all times. And
Yeah.
it's, yeah, I just wish there was more support for new moms, especially like new moms that just had their babies. And so that basket that you mentioned, I love that idea, because I know that would just brighten up anyone's day. Especially after having their child, because man. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I just love that you wrote that book, and I know there will be readers that will feel inspired and want to read, and that it's a workbook. So it's rare when you see that happen, where you can actually interact and like write through it. So you're not just reading a whole bunch of text. So that's fun, because then you can actually apply what you just read. Like you're more likely to remember something if you have to put your pen to paper and write down your thoughts, like a journal. So that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, and I love that it helps the woman to look toward the future, because so often our minds, we get stuck where we're at right now, and we can't see past today. So it asks questions like, where do you want to be in a year? Where do you see your child in a year? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Just questions that provoke that looking beyond right now.
Yes, yes. That's a very good point that you brought up, because it's so common that when you're going through a lot of crazy things and it's just feels very negative, if you're so stuck in that one specific moment. But if you can just take a couple steps back and think, well, wait, there is a future. There will be better days. Yes, where do I see myself in a year? Where do I see my child in a year? I think that helps pull them out of like where they're at with the negative vibes and the negative mentality, and just be like, oh yeah, there is a lot more, great things coming. And that's a good perspective that you put in there. So I wish I would have had your book when I had my son, because I'm sure it would have helped me on my not so great days. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Does it work for moms with toddlers? Because
I think it actually would. I was thankful that it was given to me the way it was, by God. But I think I would have liked it, or maybe, in the near future, I'll write another one just about mental health in itself, because I think that there is a lot of good material that, even if you're not a parent, even if you haven't had postpartum, that it will, bless you. And so, and even, it's scientifically proven that a lot of times women can get postpartum again, around the age of 4, when their child is 4.
Wow.
Which when I discovered doing a lot of research, to put in here. And so that really blew me away, but it did make sense. And so, yeah, I think it would be fitting for a toddler mom, if nothing else, for the prayers and scriptures.
Right, right. Because we could all use those. Goodness.
Uh,
But yeah, when you said age of 4, honestly, that makes a lot of sense, especially like my son's 3 right now. He just turned 3 in June. And it's
oh,
because it's a really tough age. I like for a long time people would say, terrible twos. But now that he's 3, now people are like, no, it's the
yeah.
threes you have to worry about. And I'm like, oh man. So I'm definitely feeling it these days.
Aw.
Yes. Oh my goodness. But you know what? I understand with, all the changes that are going on in the environment too. He doesn't get to really see his friends or anything. I mean, online is different versus playing with, other children. And he's an only child. So at best, he has our 2 dogs. So that's better than
Aw.
nothing. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So at your local church, so you lead a group that's tailored to moms, or it's just a group for women?
So the group that I lead right now is actually an intercessory prayer team. And
Mm-hmm.
so we, I want to say we specialize in prayer, but we specialize in prayer.
Yeah.
So, which, that's something that is new within the church. I'm not sure, how many different denominations actually do that, but it is something that is common within ours. And we're non-denominational, but within our branch of churches and the environmental churches, the churches in the area, that is something they do. So yeah, so I had that up. And once I finish my mental health coach training, I'll be leading that up as well.
Wow.
And provided that my bishop's okay with it, which I'm sure he will be. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm super excited. I haven't talked to him about that yet, so he'll find that out if he hears this.
Aw, just taking
But
on another thing. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, so I'm super excited and really just trying to raise awareness, especially within the church, because that's such an area where you're really frowned upon if you struggle with mental illness. They seem to, it's often looked at as a demon type of thing.
Right.
And while there is a spiritual realm, some things, are not demons. Some things are chemical imbalances,
Right.
like,
No,
so.
it's very true. Yes. Yeah, for the chemical imbalances. So I guess I'm curious to ask, so what was your experience like? So when you tried the different medications and you stopped taking them, what was it like when you just went cold turkey? Because I know that with some medications, especially when it's meant for like depression, anxiety, you could experience some alternate symptoms. So how did it feel when you stopped taking
Mhm.
them, basically?
For me, it didn't feel any different
Mm.
because the emotions and thoughts that I had taking them was still, it didn't significantly change them for me.
Mm.
And so to come off of them, I felt like me. Like, I remember with the Prozac, I was just so insanely tired that I was holding my youngest child and I was trying to feed him his bottle and I kept falling asleep because I couldn't, and at the time I was a single mom. So I knew with working and taking care of the kids, I couldn't be in a position where I was going to sleep. And so with Zoloft, it just caused me to kind of see things that weren't there and almost like a
Mm.
floating on a cloud. So it just didn't work for me. So to come off of it, for me, it was better so that I was able to function, somewhat through the day and not be sleeping or not be seeing things that weren't there.
Mm.
And just to be able to pray and to read my Bible and talk to the Lord. So yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't a big deal for me. It didn't
Yeah.
affect me.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Cause I've heard so many different stories and I'm like, and that's one of the main reasons why for me, because I did end up getting a prescription that was for my anxiety when it was really bad. But I was so scared of side effects and it changing, how I was like, and I was just way too nervous. So I didn't end up taking it. I ended up just tossing them. But yeah, that's why I asked, because I know, just for people, and if they have questions on like if they are on medication or about to take it, if they're going to feel any different. Man, so that's insane. Let me see. So with your book, where can they find your book? Is it just on your website, or is it also like on Amazon?
Oh, yeah. So it's actually on both. It's on Amazon, and you can get it on Amazon Kindle. And then it's also on Barnes and Nobles. And then I do have a website, progressdeliverance.org, and it's live and up on there too. So a couple different ways, or you can just reach out to me on Facebook, Amber Walker Hoopengarner-Adderley, or at Instagram, and it's Cursebreaker35. And you can, PM me on either one of those, and just let me know, and we'll get you all set up there as well.
Perfect. And I have one other question that I just came to mind. So if there's any listeners that aren't Christian, they're still figuring out their faith, or they're of another faith, but they were interested in going about postpartum depression the way that helped you, how would you recommend them getting started?
I would recommend that they reach out to their local resources. I know Postpartum Support International has a lot of different resources, if they're not looking for faith-based. Now, for me, I promote faith-based. I feel like, start praying and talking to Jesus, and then he will let you know what to do from there. But if that's not something that you're doing, I would start with Postpartum Support International. Talk to your doctor, the pediatrician, anyone, let somebody know something's wrong. A lot of times women are afraid to reach out because they're afraid they're going to be judged, shamed,
Right.
they're going to be frowned upon. But you have to fight for your healing. You have to fight for your child. And in my book, I say that, fighting for them in this moment means fighting for you. You have to take care of you so you can take care of them. So, if you're not comfortable going to a family member, there is Postpartum Support International. There's all kinds of different organizations. Even if you're a Christian, you can visit a local church, maybe talk to the clergy there, see what they can recommend, what resources they have. There's all kinds of resources within local communities that, specialize in postpartum health.
Got it. Yeah. Just because our listeners are from all over the world. So I'm curious, what, someone could recommend for that. But yeah, sounds great. And so for your certified life coach, once all of that is set up, is there a certain website they can find information for that?
That would also be, at prayersprogressdeliverance.org.
Got it. So it's all in the same one. Okay, got it. Just want to make sure we covered both.
Yep.
Wonderful.
I'm not a very good multitasker, so I have like Facebook, Instagram, and then I just signed up for Twitter, which I don't know how to use yet. And so I was like, I gotta keep one website, but I'll probably be transitioning here in the near future because I have a support group on Facebook, but I'll be transitioning that over to my website as well, just to be able to be more consistent and really reach out and get on one-on-one with people and answer questions and offer help.
Okay, got it. Oh, that's great. So at least people can find you all over.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, but it was such a joy to talk to you today. And yeah, you're the first Christian on our show, so it was nice to be able to relate.
Oh wow!
When it comes to faith-based.
I feel so special.
Yeah, no, seriously. Just because because of course all our different experts are talking about different things, but your piece was specifically about using your faith to help you through, what you were going through. And so yeah, so that's why it's been an honor, and I'm just so glad to have had you on today. But yeah, to everyone listening, you guys already know about this, but we have our Podcast Insiders group where you can find our guests and you can connect with them there. So, so if Amber, if you want to be in our Podcast Insiders group, then the listeners can find you there and say hi and probably ask you questions or to, yeah, just ask you questions and just hang out. So.
Absolutely. I'd be honored, truly honored.
Perfect. All right, guys. So thank you again so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time. Take care.